What's going on, everyone? Superstar Steve One here again for another episode of One Take Live, show where I talk about things. I put it to some background gameplay. Most likely it's going to be Battlefield or Call of Duty this week. Haven't decided yet, but it's currently Saturday afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was having a bit of a discussion with a mate about a certain topic in sport, and I thought it might be a little bit interesting to have a discussion about that on One Take Live. So, the topic of conversation was Mark Hunt. Now, some of you may or may not know who Mark Hunt is. He is a UFC fighter. I think he was originally, I don't think he's from Australia, but I think it's not New Zealand. I think it's, one of those islander, Samoan maybe, somewhere in there anyway. He's a UFC fighter, resides in Australia. He's caused a lot of controversy lately because of his, his participation in a sport that has a lot of drugs in it lately, and by drugs I mean performance-enhancing drugs. So he's a UFC fighter, Ultimate Fighting Championship. Mixed martial arts, and there's been a lot of controversy about his, association with the sport and the drugs in the sport, and he's currently in legal action against both the UFC and Brock Lesnar about their UFC 200 fight. Now, he's suing both of those because Brock Lesnar was found to be fighting him using an illicit substance in his system, a banned substance under the USADA substances scheme, and consequently he believes that if he's fighting someone, it should be a drug-free sport. They're the current rules. If someone's found to be not abiding by those rules, then he should get some sort of compensation for that. So it happened at UFC 200. It's happened in the past, but the main one of question of late is UFC 200. Brock Lesnar got caught using a steroid, which was banned. USADA then later suspended Brock Lesnar for a year. And gave him a fine, by the way. He's since come out and said he's going to retire. And since then, Mark Hunt has been on a big crusade against illegal steroids in his sport. I imagine it's probably for all sports, but in particular his sport. And that just opened up a bit of a conversation between me and friends. I thought that's what I'd talk about today. So I agree with Mark Hunt's perspective in that if your sport is under some sort of sanctioning body and the rules of that sanctioning body prohibit the use of certain drugs in sport, I'm all for that. You should not be able to use a drug when your opponent is not using a drug and break the rules before competing in an event, because that's not a fair playing field. The idea of sport is to have everyone compete by the same rules, and if someone is not competing by the same rules, they gain an advantage from that. That can significantly alter the outcome of the result and have huge financial and health implications. So I am completely with Mark Hunt in that respect, and what he's done is he's fighting against it. He's suing the UFC for putting him in a competition with someone that was drug cheating. He's also suing Brock Lesnar because he was drug cheating, which is against the rules. He believes it was a fair fight. He probably would have won. Whether that would happen remains a further question, something that we probably will never get an answer to. But the thing that I don't like about the whole situation is Mark Hunt and Brock Lesnar were put on the UFC 200 card because Conor McGregor was pulled off the card by the UFC and not allowed to fight. So the UFC, in their haste to replace that fight, managed to broker a deal between Brock Lesnar and Mark Hunt to fight. So Mark Hunt took the fight knowing who his opponent was. before the fight happened, Mark Hunt called Brock Lesnar out on radio, on social media, on whatever, and said Brock Lesnar is using steroids. He's, quote, juiced to the gills. He's using steroids, but it won't matter anyway. I'll knock him out anyway. And that'll be that. He can fight on drugs, be what it is. So Mark Hunt signed a contract, probably his biggest payday in the UFC, on probably the biggest UFC card ever, to get a huge spotlight put on him. And he did so knowing and claiming that Brock Lesnar was using illegal substances, and is now gone back and is trying to sue the UFC because he lost. Well, I guess it's because he lost, because I can't imagine him suing the UFC if he won. And I don't agree with that. If you know your competition is doing something illegal, you do not have to fight them. That is your own decision to make. Now, you want to go there, you want to make all that money, and you're under no false impressions as to who you're fighting and what they're using, then that's something I think you should take responsibility for. Don't blame the UFC, don't blame Brock Lesnar for it. This was about your decision to fight a guy. You claimed you knew what he was using. You said it didn't matter. You said you'd beat him anyway, and you didn't. And now I think because you didn't, you're going back and you're trying to cry wolf and say it should never have happened, and you're going to sue everyone for it. Now, I think that is wrong. I think you've completely gone about it the wrong way. That is Mark Hunt. Don't get me wrong, I'm not condoning it at all. I think Brock was in the wrong. If he was using the wrong type of a banned substance, he should not have been fighting. But that's why they have drug testing. They can't drug test them so many days out, because then they could take it after. So the only way they would know the result of if he was cheating was to do it the day before, which they did, and he's since been found guilty and he's been punished for that. So I believe that was a fair punishment. You agreed to a fight, you knew the rules, you knew one guy wasn't abiding by those rules, well, you claimed to know, and you said it didn't matter, and now you lost and you're going after someone. I think that is poor sportsmanship. I don't think it's right. I think Mark Hunt has gone on to complain about it so much in social media, and I understand that if he wants things to change for the future, he has to do that. But I think he's making the wrong accusations. Maybe accusations isn't the right word, but I think he's going about it almost in a crybaby type of way. If he had never said anything, he said, "Yep, I'm looking forward to a fight. I think it's gonna be a clean, fair fight. I don't have a problem with fighting Brock." And then later it was found out he was cheating. Then I have a problem with it. But Mark, you claimed to know. You knew the risks. You knew the huge payday was there. You were going for a lot of money. You were going for a lot of notoriety. Biggest card in UFC history. It got you to be a household name. You took that risk, and it backfired on you. Going into the fight, I don't believe you came in with the right game plan at all. Brock is a grappler and a wrestler, and you were a striker. Your game plan should have been to stand up and strike, but as soon as Brock took that to the ground, he had you easily beat, I believe. You should have really been working on takedown defense and your wrestling, because your striking is outstanding. No one can argue with that. You've knocked out the biggest names in the competition, but I think your game plan was all wrong. I think your camp could have probably been better, and the result showed that. A guy that hadn't stepped in the octagon for several years came back and won his first fight back, and won it rather convincingly, I think. So that's my thoughts on the whole Mark Hunt situation. It's a little bit of a controversial subject, but yeah, just recapping on that, I do agree with Mark Hunt that the sport should have a defined set of rules. If you break those rules, you should be severely punished. That's the only way you're going to clear up the sport, because we've seen it in numerous other sports. You get a slap on the wrist and they come straight back and everyone's still doing it. So the only way to fix it is to hand out heavier punishments. But yeah, everyone should be competing on the same level, or at least within the same rule set. If you're not, you shouldn't be competing. It is a health hazard. If you got someone in there that's it's a combat sport, so you're taking punishment and physical and probably mental impacts by fighting. So to be in there with someone that is using some type of substance which makes them more powerful or more resistant, or whatever impacts it has, it can cause a pretty significant impact to someone else that's not using the same substance. And yes, so quite rightly so, if they allowed them to compete knowing that was the case, then yes, they should be sued. But yeah, so a bit of a controversial topic today, so that's probably all we've got to say about that. It was just an interesting conversation I was having with a friend. Feel free to leave your comments about what you think about that below. We got UFC 209 coming up this weekend, which will be rather interesting. I believe that's happening tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed the gameplay today, guys. I'm not sure what I put on there yet, but hopefully I put on a good gameplay, not rather a bad gameplay. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you all next time. Bye.